So after spring practice, Coach Kalen DeBoer was very honest and forthright in stating there were areas on this Alabama roster they wanted to improve on via the transfer portal. Fast forward to now, and they have done just that. Today, we need to talk about yet another fantastic addition to the defensive backroom. This time, former Penn State safety King Mack, and why Alabama fans everywhere should be very excited. But before we can, as always, y'all know the drill. I have got to hear from you. Hop down to the comments. Give me a Y for yes, N for no. Are you excited about the addition of King Mack? And let me know what you're thinking. If you're new to the channel, be sure to subscribe. Hit that bell notification as I do constant college football content. You don't want to miss any of it. And if you enjoyed the content, be sure to like and comment down below. As those interactions may seem small, they are massive to content creators such as myself. But having said all that, let's jump right into this. And as I alluded to in the intro, one thing I love is when a coach can identify needs on their team, but that's only half the equation. It's one thing to identify a need, it's an entirely different thing to answer that need. And thus far, Coach Kalen DeBoer and company have been really successful in identifying needs on Alabama's roster and then turning to the transfer portal and getting in wins. Whenever we look at this holistically, with the addition of King Mack, Alabama now has 2 top 5 safeties in the entire transfer portal windows. That includes winter and now. That is fantastic work. And that's an area where Alabama lost a lot of talent via the transfer portal, both the safety and cornerback room. And so it's impressive when you can sit down and look and say, okay, they lost some guys, but they were able to mitigate those losses with 2 top 5 safeties per the 24/7 Sports transfer ratings. That, to me, is highly impressive. Keon Sabb and now King Mack. And King Mack was a guy out of high school that I think every college out there really wanted. When we look, this was a top 100 prospect in the nation, one of the top safeties in the nation, and a top 20 player in the state of Florida. And one thing we talk about every single recruiting cycle, it seems, is that Florida is absolutely loaded with talent on a year-in, year-out basis. Now, King Mack played for St. Thomas Aquinas in his last year, and he showed just how talented he is. But it's not just the football field talent that really excites me, especially when we're talking about a safety, because he is a rangy safety, a guy that can give you a ton of coverage ability. In high school, he ran a 10.6 100-meter dash, proving to you that he has got the capability to run with wide receivers, and I think that's something alone that should excite Alabama fans. This addition is something that, in my opinion, has 2025 in mind. However, he does add in competitive depth, and that's something we talk about all the time. It's something Kalen DeBoer wanted. It's something Nick Saban was incredibly successful at cultivating, and it's something that just pushes every area of your team. If you're able to stack competitive depth, that means you have competition, and competition, in my opinion, is an overall positive thing to have on a football team. Iron sharpens iron. And the addition of King Mack makes sure that Alabama fans everywhere know, hey, that mantra, that mindset, it's not going anywhere. There might be a new guy at the helm, but it's not going anywhere. We are still going to attempt to have one of the most loaded rosters out there, and if we have losses, we are going to mitigate those losses with big-time wins, both in terms of recruiting and in terms of transfer portal acquisitions. Because this staff has been hyper-successful in the recruiting trail as well, where Alabama currently ranks as a top 10 recruiting class in the nation, and one of the reasons why I find that to be so impressive is because this staff is going against staffs across the nation that have far more continuity, have established far deeper relationships that are much more long-standing. Unless you're a running back or a defensive lineman, or you're a guy that the previous staff was sending Freddie Roach or Robert Gillespie after, you're getting to know your new position coach. You're getting to know some new recruiters, some new faces for the Alabama Crimson Tide, which means you're trying to make up ground in a lot of these relationships and a lot of these battles. But Alabama has been able to do that very successfully, and that's one of the first things that excited me about Kalen DeBoer, was listening to players that he's worked with, listening to guys on this Alabama roster talk about that he's authentic, that he's able to build relationships and positive relationships very quickly, and that, in my opinion, is something that should excite all Alabama fans. But it is also impressive to see the work that they've done in the transfer portal. You have Cam Howard, you have Keon Sabb, and now you have King Mack all at the safety position alone. If we're just isolating and talking about that one position group, that to me is impressive, especially after some of the losses that were sustained after Nick Saban retired and then after the spring, where both Peyton Woodyard and Tony Mitchell entered the transfer portal. They have certainly answered for those losses, and once again, a Cam Howard and a King Mack, not to mention Keon Sabb, who was here before the spring portal window opened, so he got the benefit of practicing with the team. He looks to be a starter. If you're talking about mitigating losses that occurred after spring practice, well, they've done just that, and once again, Cam Howard and King Mack. I love the moves that they're making in the transfer portal. I like any time a coaching staff is able to identify needs and then go about answering those needs, and King Mack is a huge win. Though, like I said earlier in this video, I have no doubt this is a move that's going to be awesome for 2025 for Alabama. This is also a guy that has the ability to start pushing for playing time, especially if he's able to get this defense down, because as a safety, he provides a ranginess that pretty much every defensive coordinator they're looking for on the back end. And because of that, I think Alabama fans should be very excited. One thing we didn't get to mention, though, about King Mack is that when he was in high school, he made the list for 24/7 Sports 2023 Freak List, only proving further what an immense talent he has. Can't wait to hear from you. Hop down to the comments. Let me know what you're thinking about this edition. That's it. See ya.